Financing a new car. New cars are very expensive, and so most people who decide to buy a new car can't just afford to pay for the full price of the car outright. That means the alternative to that is financing the car over a longer period of time. So financing is just another word for taking a loan through the dealership that you're buying the car through. You can also take out a car loan at a bank, but it's probably more common just to do the loan through the place where you're buying the car. However, there's pros and cons to each of those. The major thing is what kind of financing rate is available, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So how much of a purchase has to be financed depends on a few things. The first is the cost of the car, or the all-in price that we've talked about. So the all-in price for the cost of a car is the biggest factor in how much you'll have to finance, but you don't necessarily have to finance the entire thing. So sometimes you'll also find that there are promotions from the dealership that also affect how much needs to be financed. So a promotion would just be, say, $500 off at this time for buying a car, and that means that's $500 less than that you need to finance. Another one is the taxes that you will have to pay on the car. So the all-in price doesn't include taxes. So if you're looking at a $15,000 car all in, the taxes are going to increase that by about 12%. The taxes are calculated after the promotion. So if you get a $500 off promotion, you don't have to pay taxes on that $500 that you're saving. Then there's a couple other factors that come in after the taxes have been calculated. The first one's going to be the trade-in value of your old car. So if you go to the lot with an older car that's maybe still pretty valuable, because a lot won't take any old junker, but they'll take decent cars in good shape that they can resell, and they will pay you an amount for that car, a trade-in value, so that they can sell your car after. You often don't get a lot for a trade-in car, not like you'd probably get more if you sold it privately, but trading in your old car does save the hassle of having to go through selling your car for yourself. So it's again sort of a pro and con thing. You have to decide if it's worth the hassle of selling your car for yourself and getting more money, or just trading it into the dealership. But either way, if you trade in your car, that's less that you have to finance. And then the last part is a down payment. So this is just the amount of the purchase price that you can pay up front. So again, if your car costs $15,000 plus taxes and minus promotions and all that, if you have, say, $5,000 saved up for a new car right now, you can pay $5,000 down at the beginning, and that's $5,000 you don't have to finance through the dealership. And why would you pay a down payment? Well, because it means that you're financing less. It means that your monthly payments that you're paying for this loan are going to be cheaper. The last thing you need to be aware of that can affect the amount that needs to be financed is hidden documentation fees. When you buy a new car, a lot of car lots like to tack on these little fees that can add up to like hundreds of dollars that they say, oh, this is a documentation fee and this is some other financing fee. And those little things add up quite a bit, and you'll have to pay for those through the financing. People who are skilled negotiators can often talk their way out of having to pay documentation fees as well. That's one of the really not fun parts of buying cars. So the exact financing calculation is complicated, but these calculations can all be done online. So you don't have to know exactly how it happens, but this is how it works. You are paying the same amount each month from the very beginning of your loan to the very end of your loan. At first, a large part of your monthly payment is going just towards the interest that you're going to owe on the loan. But at the end of the loan, because you've been paying off part of the value of your car for, say, a few years, by the end of the loan, you don't actually owe that much left to the dealership. So that means that you're paying less interest because you owe less of the car at the end of the loan, and more of your payment is going towards the interest. But that payment amount, that monthly payment amount, is still the same from the beginning of your loan to the end of your loan. In BC, the taxes on new cars come to 12%. 5% GST, that's the federal sales tax, and 7% PST, that's the provincial sales tax. And that amount applies for new cars under $55,000. And then it gets kind of complicated on the taxes for new cars above that amount. But I think for most of us, we're going to be falling under that $55,000 amount. And if you have the money to be buying a new, more expensive car than that, chances are the taxes you're paying aren't a big deal. Taxes are calculated after promotions, but before down payments and trade-ins. So let's do an example. The all-in price of a 2018 Mazda 3 is $17,820. We're going to assume that there's no trade-in or no down payment, and then there's a dealership promotion of $500 off. So how much needs to be financed? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with that all-in price, $17,820, and then we're going to subtract the promotion of $500. That gives us the amount that before tax, that's basically the purchase price of the car. So that's a total price of $17,320. So this is the amount that then gets taxed. So now we want to know the tax amount. So the tax is 12%, and you'll remember from our work with percents earlier in this course that 12% is a decimal, is 0.12, and we're going to times that by 17,320. And that's going to give us the amount that we owe for tax. So I do that and I get a total amount of tax of $2,078.40. Now to get the total that we have to finance, we just have to add those two things. The amount that was owed before tax plus the tax, and that comes to a total of $898.50. Sorry, bad math. I typed that in wrong. That's $19,398.40. There we go. That's better. So that's the amount that needs to be financed in this scenario. Now, if you were to add a down payment or trade in a car, you would just subtract that amount from this amount that needs to be financed, because you don't get to save on the taxes you owe by trading in a car. You still have to pay the taxes on the purchase price of that new car. But if you wanted to put on a down payment of $10,000, you would subtract that $10,000 from this amount that needs to be financed. So what I'm going to show you now is the Scotiabank's online auto loan payment calculator, which is basically just an online calculator that uses the vocabulary of car loans. So it's really convenient for looking at how much you'd have to pay for a car loan. So this online calculator is really great because it lets you put in a whole bunch of these values that we've been talking about, and we're going to carry on with that last example we've been doing or we worked on. So the total amount that we calculated for financing was $19,398.40. So that's what I'm going to type into the price of the new vehicle here. Next, we could include the value of a trade-in vehicle. So if we had a $3,000 trade-in vehicle, we could get $3,000 either with the slider or we could just type it in, which is a lot easier. Whoops. That's, there we go. Now, that said, I'm actually going to do this with a 0 trade-in value just to look at these costs. Duration of the loan, we can go from as low as 0 months, which means we're not taking a loan, or more commonly, loans are given in year increments. So 12 months for 1 year, 24 months for 2 years. Let's look at a 4-year loan. That's pretty standard. So that's 48 months. If you think about it, though, that's still a long time to be in debt for a car. You're talking about not really truly being free of debt for your vehicle for 4 years of your life. That's a long time, but it's pretty common. Provincial sales tax. We can set this to what we want depending on what province you're buying the car, and you'll have to pay different tax. However, because we included the sales tax already in this $19,398 amount, we can just slide that down to 0. And then the expected interest rate, this is going to vary depending on the car lot or the bank, but I'm going to do this for a 0.99% loan, because that's a pretty common one that I see in advertisements. So with this, we can see what our loan payments are going to be like. So you can see the total amount to be financed is that same amount that we had calculated earlier. This rounds to the nearest dollar, so I can't put in the 40 cents. And then if we scroll down, it's going to show us what our payments are like. So for 48 months, we would have a monthly payment of $412.35. So for 4 years, you'd be paying $412 per month to pay off your car. And then it also tells us the total interest to be paid over that whole duration of the loan is just under $400. So we're paying about $400 in interest over that 4-year loan. Now, that's not a ton, but that's also a pretty low interest rate. And what you'll find is that they might advertise a 0.99% interest rate, but then when you go to get that loan, they say, oh, your credit score is not good enough. The best we can offer you is, say, a 2.99% interest rate. And what you find is that all of a sudden, oh, not 14%, 2.99%, that all of a sudden makes your payments jump up a little bit. Your monthly payment jumps up to $429, but what you see is that the total interest over the course of the loan jumps up to like $1,200. So that's a big difference, going from a $400 of interest to $1,200 of interest. So these online calculators are super convenient and helpful for planning out what you can afford. Can you afford those monthly payments? Does that interest seem reasonable or fair to you? And if you think, no, I just don't think I can afford those monthly payments, then you probably need to be looking at this number, the price of the new vehicle. Maybe buying a new vehicle isn't right for you right now.